It's after a lot of consideration that I'm doing this sort of YouTube video. If you look at my first video, you'll see it's all like cinematic and like, pretty, but that's not the type of YouTube videos that I would like to be doing. But here we are. So the big question, who am I? My name's Vil, I am 23 years old and I live with my dog. I live in Australia, work in Australia as a software engineer. I came to Australia to do my Bachelor's of Software Engineering. Yeah, that went on for 4 years from 2019 to 2022, just after the pandemic. And I went straight into a graduate role, which I am currently working in, not as a graduate, but as a full-time software engineer. So what did I learn as a software engineering student? Well, anything that comes to mind when you think of software engineering, I might have done. I've worked with robots, I've done a bunch of embedded systems like hardware related topics, subjects, whatever you want to call them. During my degree, this was my penultimate year, so second to last year, I applied to a bunch of summer internships because also this is Australia. Summer's in December-ish. That's when we don't have any studying happening, so you can work full-time hours. So I applied for a bunch of summer internships and I got into this one company that I would consider a big IT company. I started the role in November of 2021, finished in February of 2022. Fast forward to the end of my degree, and the same company offered me the graduate role, so I could start as a full-time employee from February of 2023. And I'm currently in the same role. I don't plan on leaving because it's a pretty good company, very flexible working hours, and I work from home most of the time. Yeah, it's pretty good. During university, I did not just study, I did do a bunch of part-time work as well. I worked at a restaurant, I've worked at a burger store, I've worked at a cafe, but yeah, did a bunch of part-time work. And then somewhere in my third year, was it? It must have been July, I got a dog. I got Theo. He's a little spoodle. I'll probably put a picture of him somewhere here. So as an international student in Australia on a student visa, there wasn't a lot that I could do, and I was definitely not in a very good, like, independent sort of financial situation, which is why I had to do a bunch of part-time jobs. I mean, I didn't do a bunch of part-time jobs, that sounds wrong. I just did one part-time job at a time. Now, I may have done 2 at a time at one point, but yeah, it's not a big deal. But we are only allowed to work a certain number of hours in a fortnight when we are in our study period. Living in Australia is great. I am really enjoying living here, especially because of how independent I feel, how safe I feel living alone. Back home, I wouldn't feel the most safe if I were to travel outside on my own. That might just be my anxiety, but that's just how I feel, that like my personal experience. But in Australia, I have no issues walking outside on my own, like literally 0 issues walking alone. Yeah, I take my dog out at like 12 in the night and I don't feel a thing. I'm not scared. But that's not to say that, there's nothing to be scared of. There are some, certain things that I won't really mingle into, but yeah, that's like the overall like vibe I get from the place. University was great. I really enjoyed my classes. Everything was like structured really well. Making friends, a little difficult because, well, I am introverted, very introverted. And in my first year of study, I was the only girl in most of my like software engineering classes. It was not fun because we would have a bunch of group projects, and then every single group sets of boys, and then this one group with a girl. But then as years went by, I remember in my 3rd and 4th year, there were a bunch of girls as well. That made it a lot easier when, girls started joining in, and then I wasn't the only girl with a bunch of other boys. But making friends was a bit difficult. I do still have a couple of friends, not too much, from university. And that's also because of the pandemic that dropped an year after I started study. Yeah, but making friends is not that hard if you're, outgoing, or if you really want to make friends. I didn't want to make friends because I'm not a people person. Like, I'm happy staying at home in my bedroom. But yeah, if you want to make friends, you can. One thing I did notice though is, because I am brown, people tend to assume that I'm Indian. I'm Sri Lankan with 2 different countries, but I would very often be approached and asked, are you Indian? And then I would have to very solemnly say, no, I'm Sri Lankan. And then they would be like, well, close enough, right? You guys are pretty much the same country. And I'm like, no, we speak different languages. We are 2 different countries. We just, we're both Southeast Asian countries. That's it. Wait, South Asian countries? Mom, is Southeast Asian? It's not too bad, I mean, compared to some other things that other people face. But I feel like overall Australia is like a very culturally diverse country. If you are an international student and you are feeling a bit nervous coming into Australia, if you are feeling excited maybe, or if you feel like, I don't know, you feel lost maybe, one thing that can help is doing a bit of research on the area you will be living in. In my case, I lived right next to university, like not on campus, but just like a block or 2 away from campus. And that kind of helped me because my circle was much smaller than what was uncomfortable, I suppose. Yeah, it was small enough for me to have my own sort of area that I was really comfortable with, and I could very easily navigate. Definitely research on the area that you are living in, and make sure you find accommodation in a location that works for you. If you feel like commuting to university is not very ideal for you, then definitely find somewhere closer to uni. You can look at on-campus options as well. They might be a bit more expensive, but they are so much more convenient. Another thing that would definitely help is to sort of do your homework in terms of like your the subjects that you will be studying. Most of my friends are like, they get worried when it comes to the new subjects that they have to learn. They feel like it's too big of a jump from high school to university, but it really isn't. In my case, it was a very short leap from high school to university. And the first year of university is almost always like an introductory year. So you would be doing a bunch of like 101 lessons. These are the times when you should get high grades for like your first year is like the year that you can get high distinctions, or whatever your grading schemes are. You can get the highest because the subjects are supposed to be easy. But that does not mean you will only have easy subjects, because I did have one subject that was engineering physics, and as someone with a commerce background, I was lost, but I ended up getting a high distinction for it. So you can still work your way through things even if it's harder, because that's what student life is for. One other thing that helped me a lot was keeping in touch with my family. I got very homesick, and this is something that happens to most international students. You get homesick a lot, especially because most of us are very young and we are away from our parents for the first time in our lives, and it can be very intimidating having to do a lot of things on your own, especially cooking and like managing your own bills. That can be very intimidating, and it helped me a lot to call my parents every night. And I still do it every day. I still call my mom every single day, like twice a day, sometimes 3 times sometimes. One thing I would definitely recommend doing is managing your time. It can be really frustrating when you have a lot of assignments due, or you have your exams due and you don't have a lot of time to do things because you have part-time work or like other things pending. So it would really help to manage your time in advance. Something that really helped me was having these like sticky notes stuck on my wall so that I could just take things off as I completed them. If you are the type of person that plans for the future in advance, I would recommend looking into some internships or like jobs related to your field of study that you can do during the summer times when you don't have any studying happening, because that can really help you build your experience, get a bit like gain some a network of professionals. You know, there's a lot of things you can do during those summer months. Gaining experience in your field is a very good way of spending that time. And I don't mean every single summer you have to do this. If you could, you know, take one summer out of the many summers you spend as a student, you could do a lot for your career. If you are new to Australia and you don't really have a lot of friends, there are a bunch of like meetups on, you can find them on Instagram or even the Meetup app. There's a bunch of groups that do like introvert meetups. I've been to one introvert meetup and it was great. We went ice skating. It was amazing. But yeah, you've got introvert meetups. You've got like interest-based meetups like board games. You can easily make friends in these kinds of stuff. You could get together for like coffee, matcha, all as a group of girls or boys or mixed. The choices are limitless, to be honest. Actually, maybe not. There are limits. It's pretty cool how you can find a bunch of communities online that can really work for you. If you've got any questions for me, you can leave them in the comments and I promise I will reply. Let me see if I can get my dog to make an appearance here. 1 second. He's got the focus. Oh, aren't you so pretty, Theo? If you liked this video, like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll be very grateful for that. So I'll see you guys next time then. Bye.